Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leandre ADIFON. I'm the founder of the African School of Economics, but also professor of politics, economics, and international affairs at Princeton University in the US. So welcome to the Summer Institute for Economic Research. It's the second edition. And as usual, like we did last year, at the end of the school, we have a keynote speech on an important topic by a distinguished scholar or practitioner. This year, we are very lucky to have Mr. Leandre ADIFON. Leandre is a great friend of mine, but more importantly, in this context, he's the Vice President for Enterprise Systems Engineering and Advanced Technology at Ingersoll Rand. In his current role, Leandre oversees program and portfolio management, systems engineering, and advanced technology at the company. Until recently, he led engineering and technology for the industrial technology sector, including compressed air technology, power tools, fluid management, material handling, and club car. Leandre came to Ingersoll Rand after 20 years at United Technology, where he was vice president of Otis Worldwide Engineering and a member of Otis Executive Committee. He held various roles of increasing responsibility within United Technology, including vice president of elevator system engineering and development, director for engineering for North and South America, and senior manager for systems engineering worldwide, among others. Prior to joining United Technologies, Leandre was consultant in robotics, machine tools, and thermal engineering in Europe. He holds advanced degrees in mechanical engineering from Polytechnic of Milan in Italy, and in management and finance technology from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI. He also has an MBA from RPI and certificate in system design and management from MIT. Leandre speaks several languages, including French, which is his native language, Italian, Spanish, and some German. He is a member of the International Council for System Engineering, Global Architecture Forum, and American Society of Mechanical Engineers. He's also a board member of American School of the Deaf, and more importantly, I should say, as importantly at least, he's a board member of the African School of Economics. It's such a great pleasure having him among us today, and we hope that he will give an extremely insightful and inspirational speech, and we are lucky that at the end of the summer school, we have such an opportunity to get someone of his caliber, to inspire us and to look ahead to how technology is going to shape our lives and the globe for the 12 years to come. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is for me a delight to be here in my native Benin to talk to you and review together the challenges as well as the opportunities in the developing countries as we journey toward 2030. It is important that we put technology in its own environment, and then we have a healthy discussion about it. I will start with one of my favorite pictures. If you look at this picture here, you see the surface of the moon, where NASA astronauts took a picture of the Earth. And just like you would see the moon in the night overhead in the sky, we are looking at Earth in the sky. But the message is clear. It tells us that this is the only place we all call home. This is the only place we all call home. And the only inhabited place we know of so far. Every now and then, we are told that we found a planet that is closed and looks like Earth-like environment, but so far no other planet is inhabited. The question, though, and the problem is that planet Earth is being suffocated by some dark spots, namely hunger, disease, illiteracy, inequality, poverty. We still have communities in the 21st century that live without electricity, with no water. And that is something that we need to come together and work in such a way that we can remove the dark spots in order to brighten the earth. The context in which we'll be talking today is the context of the United Nations goals. The United Nations, in fact, have set 17 goals. And as you can see them here on the board, they range from no poverty, no hunger, all the way to partnership to meet the goals. So we will take those goals as our background, extract some of them, and talk about technologies that are needed to fulfill them in our generation. However, before we go any further, I will leave you with this notion in such a way that you keep that in mind for the rest of the discussion. Let's look at a few economic cycles. We are, and it's appropriate, we are at the African School of Economics with bright minds in the room that really understand analytics and so on. So let's look at a few cycles. If we look at hunting and gathering, as you can see, for 1 million BC and still going. Still going. You look at agriculture, 10,000 BC and still going. What we're measuring here on this graph is how long it takes to each of those technologies to reach 100%. If we look at another one, industry, 1800 AD, and still going. And yet, if I take nanotechnology, as recent as 2015, this technology has reached gigantic levels and growing. Now, what is the takeaway from this? It is that economic cycles are getting shorter and shorter. Please keep that notion in mind as we progress. 14 years ago, only 14 years ago, there were no smartphones. 14 years ago, think about this. There were no smartphones. There was no GPS. GPS, the countries where they have digitized maps, you get in your car, you put the address where you want to go, and then the car drives you there with left, right turns, and you get to your point. That did not exist 14 years ago. 14 years ago, there were no Facebook, no Twitter. There were no social media. There were no 3D printers. I will come back to 3D printing and talk to you about that technology. Fascinating, growing, and changing the industries in the world. I'll come back to that. The cloud. What is the cloud? The concept of cloud is that instead of having your documents on a computer, you leverage a network of computers around the world. So it doesn't matter where your document resides, as long as you have access to it anytime you need it. That is the cloud, the concept of cloud. 14 years ago, there was no cloud. E-readers, Kindle started, and now all of us have e-books, and we read the books. So the list could be even longer. So this thing, 14 years ago, did not exist. So 14 years from now, imagine what can happen, what we can be part of, and what can happen in the world. And that's exactly where I want to drive us today. what can happen 14 years from now. And we need to be part of it so that we don't feel like fish out of a water that's drying and then refuse to follow the water as it's drying from its edges. If they don't follow and adapt, they will get lost. They will be left out, and we don't want to be. Not only we want to be part of the transformation, but we want to be also actors of the transformation and be part of it and make it happen. So let's get on this journey and examine a few technologies. This is very important. What you see on my left here are all telephone lines. For people who are 40 and over, you know very well these telephone lines. You go somewhere, they're everywhere. It requires investment in infrastructure to get all these lines. And this phone was the phone that some of us have started using telephone with. And then once we moved to hand-free, it was wonderful. You could go in the garden around your house without having to be tethered to a base. But then what happened? What happened is that we went to cell towers and look here, this mountain of handheld devices, cell phones, and so on. And when you look at this, the message here is that in some countries, developing countries, they did not invest at all in all this infrastructure. They directly jumped from this to that, which means that it is possible for developing countries to jump over an entire generation of technologies. I talked to you about fast cycles, and now I'm giving you the notion of skipping over entire generations. Keep those two things in mind as we now examine a few technologies. Here are the 6 that we will talk about. I will talk about a few technologies, just grab a couple. It's not to go over a whole list. Our time is limited here, but I want to stimulate your creativity. We talk about research, your sensitivity to pay attention to these and to be part of them as they unfold. So I'll be covering each of these and say a few words about them and share a few technologies. Then we will open up for Q&A where I can expand as I answer the questions. Zero hunger. The part of zero hunger I'm talking about will be food and agriculture. There are 2 main drivers here. Lands. Quality lands are less and less. The world population is growing, and by the time we get to 2030, it will be getting closer to 9 billion. We are at 7 billion now. It will be getting closer to 9 billion. So planet Earth, the Earth is what it is, okay? Limited lands. So we need quality lands, and we need water. We need to use less water. Water is all around us, but unfortunately, only 2% of the water that is in the world is fresh water. Only 2% of all the water is fresh, and only a quarter of that 2% is accessible to people. So when I talk about water, I'll come back to that and talk to you about the sources of water in 2030. Okay, so here I'll talk about 2 technologies, but those technologies are evolving. But all new technologies are being explored in order to reduce land needs and then less water. So if you haven't heard about hydroponics, hydroponics are technologies that use less water and bring nutrients directly to the core of the plant, just what they need to grow. And I've put here 3 different techniques. One is called the wick system. The wick system is using a wick. The wick here mostly used could be coconut. When you take a coconut and you open it, the coconut,